Good morning, everyone. Scooter here at Granville Guitars in lovely St. Petersburg, Florida, wishing you a wonderful, good Tuesday morning. What we have here on the bench is what once was our good friend, the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe 112 amplifier. I say it once was that because it's kind of a sad story with a happy ending. From all exterior intents and purposes, it looks like your normal Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. However, it's not. Under the hood, it's quite different. You can probably see the silver dust cap peeking back at you from behind the grill cloth, and that reveals the JBL D131 speaker that's on board, which gives it a little bit more full range kind of a sound. But there's way more to it than that. Stay tuned and we'll talk it over. Alright, here we are around back inside the chassis, and you can see some differences from the normal Hot Rod Deluxe right away. There is a turret board in place instead of the normal printed circuit board. Matter of fact, there are 3 turret boards, and we'll get to all of that in a sec. What happened with this amp, I'll give you a little background. A couple of years ago, I purchased this amp from a buddy of mine, and it was burnt up. It had all kinds of little issues, most of which were traced back to some somewhat feeble attempts at repairing some issues on the amplifier, primarily the board that would have been down where the power tubes are. There was a separate board down in this area right in here, that went all the way across. Actually, I believe in that design there's 2. There's a separate one for the power tubes and the preamp tubes. Actually, I think it cuts off here. The memory is escaping me right now. But anyway, on that printed circuit board there were some problems, and someone had attempted to repair them and failed. And I repaired them and was successful at it. And did a bunch of work to the amplifier. Spent some time, improving the tone stack and, just little things, better filter caps, etc., etc. Got it all fixed up, sounding nice. Selected a speaker for it. I think we ended up with an Eminence red coat. Spent some time messing around with tube choices, and it really was a great sound little amp. And I had no intention of doing anything else with it from that point. Well, I got talked out of it. It was purchased from me and taken away and taken out of state, and it was used for a little while until apparently it failed and started shooting smoke out one day. Well, it ended up coming back to me. I'm not going to get into all the gory details because it's a little unseemly, but I ended up taking the amp back, and I made some very concerted and very frustrating attempts to try and fix the amplifier because I had so much invested into it at that point. I wanted to save it and I wanted to bring it back, but it was just too far gone. Something had been spilled into the amplifier and had exacerbated all the problems that it had before, and now it had a bunch of new ones on top of that. So I abandoned that tack altogether and just set it aside for a while. Well, my good friend Mr. Charles Lyon one day suggested to me that what I had sitting there was a cabinet and a chassis and a set of transformers that were all functioning and all good, and I should make it into something else. So what I did at Charles's suggestion was I built this into a single channel Blackface Bassman amplifier, using the normal channel from a Blackface Bassman, and tweaked it out a little bit here and there. Did a few different things with it, but it's turned out really, really fine. We're calling this amp the Granville Mystery Marvel for a couple of reasons. First of all, it isn't really what it appears to be at first glance, and second of all, it's kind of a tip of the hat to my Uncle Pat. Sort of an inside joke there. But anyway, this is the Granville Mystery Marvel. Let's take a closer peek inside, shall we? Alright, here we are inside, and you'll notice that I've stuck pretty closely to the correct specifications for a Bassman. There is a few little changes here and there that would make it a little more full range in the tone section. A little more controllable low end in particular. If we look around the front panel real quick, and I think it might, yeah, it's right side up this way, we can see that it's pretty simple. We got the two inputs that channel normally would have had. That little switch there is the bright switch. Volume. I've left the drive control open and the silk screening in place. Someday I may end up putting a drive circuit on here because, as you'll see in a minute, we have an extra triode on one of the preamp tubes, and although it's being used for a different duty, it could be pressed into service to be another gain stage, but for now I'm enjoying it as is, so I'm going to leave it alone. Then of course we have the tone controls, and right next to it down there, that's actually the bias pot. That just was a convenient place to put it. No other reason than that. That's why it's there. All the other old jacks, which were effects loop and other gain controls for the dirty channel on this amp, have all been capped off, and I'm not going to be using those more than likely because I like it the way it is. Anyways, as we go inside the amplifier, the way this chassis is constructed, it's kind of tweedish. So let's back out here a little bit so we can see everything. So I tried to do my wiring style in sort of the tweed Fender style, with your jacks, potentiometers, etc. up in the front end. We can see, let me get down in here so we can see, input jacks here. I've used Dale resistors at the input, mil specs, because they're nice and quiet. Here's our tone stack here. I've been using these Sozo Blue Sausage copies for a while now. They're really, really nice. I really enjoy them. I find that they've got most of the tonality of the old school molded caps. I've really been enjoying them a lot. They're a little on the expensive side, but they're, I think they're worth it. As we come up here, we can see our volume control and bright switch right in there, and there's a ground bus there, and tone controls down at the other end of the board. Where was it? Oh, I lost track of it. Here is one thing that's different from what a normal Bassman might be. You see there's some open eyelets right there. This is the rectifier here. There is no center tap available for your B+. So you have to make the rectifier like it would have been on a Hot Rod Deluxe, not what it would have been on a Bassman, because it won't work properly. If someday I should update the transformers on this thing, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the project, but if I do, I'm going to have to make this into the, this is what's called a bridge rectifier. I would have to add a couple of diodes and rewire this whole thing to suit that transformer. That was really the only stumbling block that we encountered when I was building the amplifier out. Is initially I started building it with the old school rectifier supply, and it didn't work at all, and sat down and had a peek at it, and that's exactly what was going on. You'll notice right there, there's my bias supply is right here on the board like it would have been on a Fender, and here's my bias potentiometer, which is, like I said, that's why it's there, because it's a good place for it. It's real convenient, it's handy. Even if I had drilled a hole forward for it, it still would have been in a really inconvenient place. So that's where it ended up. Kind of went big with the filtering. It's stock Bassman values. Probably a lot larger than these transformers and this power supply really want. But hey, it sounds great, so I'm leaving it be. We've got some terminal strips there that are taken care of. Let's see, get it back in frame again. They're taking care of filament supply duties and a few other things. Oh yeah, the B plus is on there too. So if we look around the back, you can see again, kind of like a tweed. Whoops, kind of like a tweed. Everything sort of goes in a C formation, wiring wise, from one end to the other. See if I can get some light on that. You can see my power tube sockets there. Nice big 5 watt. And I use 680s on there just for a little more firmness in the low end. A little better, just even out the high velocity low end punch a little bit. It seemed the JBL seems to like those a little better, so that's what I went with. Original speaker out jacks, wired they were the way they were originally, so I can use an extension cab if I want to, which I probably won't. Let's see, if you it's kind of hard to see. You can sort of see the filament wires. They're peeking out from the filaments came off the transformer, and we went here with a tag strip and created our Phantom center tap with the 100 ohm resistors, and then the wires come up here, and this one's kind of peeking out. It shouldn't. I'll have to work on that. That should be tucked up in there, but I've got my filament wires wrapped and tucked up inside there like that. Hang on, alright, there's a better view of the power tube sockets. As we move along here, there's your phase inverter right there. Oop. Input tube is next to that. Just in classic Bassman style. Didn't fool around with it there. No monkey business or mods or changes or anything of the sort there. Just kind of kept it simple and classic. Yeah, and that's all for the tube sockets really. There's not a whole lot to show off in here. It's a pretty simple amplifier. That's kind of what I wanted, obviously. I wanted simple and toneful and solid. And the transformers worked, and the chassis in good shape, the cabinet's in good shape. I put a nice speaker in it. We'll check it down here. It's a D131 that I had reconed. So it's in brand new shape, and it sounds really good. And JJ's all across is what I usually like to use. Made a nice speaker cable with some good cable and a steel plug rather than the plastic one that it would have come with. So just some updates and changes, and made it into a single channel Blackface Bassman combo, which is something you don't see very much, or at least something I don't see very much. I believe there's a couple of boutique builders that are kind of doing this sort of thing, but would I do this again? Probably not. There's no real reason to do it other than if you were in the situation I was in, which was I was faced with an amplifier that was not working. Probably wasn't going to be able to make it work the way it was, and so decided to make it into something else. If you were going to tackle a project like this from scratch, probably best to start out with a kit and sort of work your way out from there. Perhaps you could get a deluxe reverb cabinet and chassis, regular deluxe reverb, and then you'd have to use new transformers, and you could probably do it from there. But, like I said, there's no real reason to try and do this from scratch unless you just got stuff laying around. So, anyway, that's our inside look at the Granville Mystery Marvel. Why don't we fire this puppy up and see what it sounds like? All right, here we go with the sound test for the Granville Mystery Marvel. This little Hot Rod Deluxe which has now become a single channel Blackface Bassman combo. Today I'm using Munch, my 82 Schecter Strat style guitar, maple neck, big ass frets, Clouson tuners. It's got the Koa body and the Wilkinson trim, old school EMGs, aluminum pickguard, the usual things I kind of dig. Right now I got the volume cranked pretty good. Let's back it off here. It's on about 7 right now. I got the treble and mids at about 8 each and the bass at about 3. Right switch is over here, but it's off right now. I think it's bright enough without it, at least for my own purposes of this demonstration, but it's there should it be needed. Treble control, let's see what that guy does here. All the way off. Definitely works. Bass control. All the way off. All the way on. All the way off. It'll get out of control in a hurry. I think I found a happy place with it at about 3. The mids, all the way off. I've got it set up so that with the mids all the way off, it's very Fendery. It's very, you can give it a little more bass at that point. But the more you increase the mids, the more kind of Marshall-y mid-range comes in. There it is at 10. Again, I found a happy place with it at about 8. Seems to be where I'm at. One good thing about it, it sounds really good at all volume levels. I've actually also got a copper drive, a Granville copper drive set up here for a little extra dirt. Let's see what that sounds like at the lower volume here. Now what I'm going to do here is I've got an EMG SPC in this knob position here. I'm going to crank that thing and go to the bridge position, which will give me more of a humbucking pickup kind of sound. Not exactly like it, but a little bit. That's what the level and tone at about 10 o'clock, and the drive is at about 2 o'clock. That's typically where I set my copper drive most of the time. Volume up here. Now we're up to about 10 on a 12 scale. Still pretty clean. Really control it with the picking. notes have a nice swirl around them. What it does cranked all the way here. This is what it'll get for natural distortion when you lay into it. That's kind of extreme. I would back it up to probably about 10 to gig with, or a little bit less, and then add a copper drive, which really gets right back up as soon as you turn off the overdrive. Get it right back. That's one of the great things about the Bassman, I think, is that it's just real versatile. Throw a pedal on top of it here and there, and you kind of get whatever you need. So, am I happy with it? Yeah, I'm real happy with it. It's a little 112 amp that's portable, and you can take it out to a gig, and you know, it's got plenty of power supply, and with the JBL speaker, you can pretty much hear yourself over whatever you might need to without having to, you know, schlep in a whole 412 or whatever to a jam night or whatnot. Haven't recorded it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll probably record pretty well. It sounds really nice and tactile and juicy, and it'll get those nice sustaining feedbacks at just about any level, any volume level. So I'm kind of looking forward to recording with it, and hopefully I'll have some other stuff to post in the near future there. But anyway, that's about all I got time for today. That's our little presentation of the Granville Mystery Marvel, my new little amplifier that I'm pretty pleased with. Say, listen, if you got any questions about anything that we do here at Granville Guitars, you can go over to granvilleguitars.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and also go and check out the new blog, A View from the Granville Bench, over at WordPress. That's all I know for today. Have a good one.